Hello.
Hi, Sean. How are you?
I'm good. How are
I-
you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. And for everybody who is joining us, again, I'm Taylor with Beauty Queens Galore, the pageant resource. And today we are joined by Katie Winchenbach, who is National United States Maine Mrs. 2025. She's an attorney, a podcast host, fashion designer, and the force behind Lead Fearlessly and Fearless by Katie Winchenbach. Katie, thank you again so much for joining us today. Can you tell us what brought you to the pageant industry to start us off?
Sure. I actually was invited to do a pageant, my first one ever, a couple of years ago, and I almost said no. I was about 30 seconds away from telling this lovely director that she had the wrong woman. I felt like I was not your stereotypical 5'10", size 2 to 4 pageant queen, and I didn't think that there was a place for me in pageantry. But my husband was really encouraging. He was like, this sounds like something you really should look into. And once I started actually doing some research on what it meant to participate in pageants, I realized that it's so much about sisterhood and community service and really just being able to uplift each other. And I was hooked the second I got
I
started.
know. And it's like a tale as old as time for everybody that competes in pageants. After you do the first one, you get
You
hooked.
get the
And I love that you,
pageant bug.
yes,
Yeah.
the bug. And I love that you talked about your husband and how he encouraged you on this journey as well. So, for those meeting you for the first time, how would you describe who you are beyond the crown?
So, if you would have asked me that question a couple of years ago, I would have said, I'm a corporate attorney, and I would have just completely stopped there. And I really have learned in the last couple of years that I have the ability to do so many more things and have so many more interests. I am really detail oriented. I'm really driven. I'm really passionate about the work that I do. Through being an attorney, but also really passionate and driven about the nonprofit work that I'm able to do, about having a podcast, about connecting women together and uplifting and really inspiring and empowering rising women leaders.
Now, you can tell just by what you said, you wear so many hats: attorney, fashion designer, podcast host, and now national title holder. So, which part of your journey has surprised you the most so far?
I think the title holder and fashion designer part has really just for me kind of came out of the blue. A couple of years ago, I read Shonda Rhimes' Year of Yes. If anybody hasn't read it, it's an amazing book. And I love that she just pushed herself to say yes to things that were exciting but were scary. And it definitely made me realize I had kind of put myself in a box and I hadn't said yes to things that were exciting but potentially scary. And for me, joining an agency, modeling in New York Fashion Week, and starting this fashion line with my agency really was that yes moment. I had never done anything like that before. It was kind of a childhood dream, and I got to act on it.
And you get to be the woman who does it all, who doesn't say, oh, I'm just going to be an
Mhm.
attorney or I'm just going to be a fashion
Yes.
designer. You're doing multiple things at one time. So, Katie, what drives you to keep evolving and showing up in so many of these different spaces?
Really, for me, it's about showing other women and encouraging other women that they can also do whatever they want to do. I see these incredible women, whether it's through my nonprofit work, that I host on my podcast, that I meet at these pageants, and they're amazing. They are so inspiring. And I see sometimes that self doubt creep in, and I see them really like selling themselves short. And to me, it's really important to be able to uplift them and say, you can do all of these things. Like, do not limit yourself.
Yes, and if somebody sees you doing it, then maybe they'll feel inspired as well.
Exactly. And it has not been an easy journey all the time. I was a first generation law student. So getting through law school was really, really difficult. There were times where I really thought about quitting. I got halfway through and realized I didn't want to be a traditional litigation courtroom attorney that you see on TV and then totally panicked. Thought, oh my gosh, I'm halfway through law school and I don't want to be a lawyer. What am I going to do? And I had all of those feelings of freaking out, of wondering if I was taking the right path. I joined my first law firm where I was the only female attorney, and
Wow.
it was a hit to my
Mhm.
confidence, to say the least. I didn't feel like I belonged, I didn't feel like I was valued. And it was really hard to keep going through that, keep pushing, and still find it within myself to know that I was bringing value, that I was at the table for a reason. And that's really for me kind of been the driving factor, because I know I'm not the only person who has been out there facing those issues and not having a linear or a smooth path.
Yes, and as if being an attorney is not an accomplishment in itself, you are National United States Maine Mrs. for 2025.
Am.
Walk us through your journey to becoming that title. What originally drew you to this system specifically?
For me, the my favorite thing about pageantry is community service and getting to share what I'm doing with the judges. So, after I competed in my first pageant, which was USOA, I wanted to try something different. There's so many systems out there, and I wanted a pageant that was scoring community service. That was just at their heart, was how can we be out there and serve our community collectively and individually. And National United States really stood out to me for that reason. We have 10% of our score, for the judges is community service. We have to submit all of that in advance. We also have a national community service project we do for the Ronald McDonald House. All of the girls who are competing have these amazing platforms. They're doing so much in their community. And I just thought, that's something I want to be a part of. I want to be with these other women who are making a huge difference.
Now, what has your preparation looked like for nationals? I know you've been doing a lot of community service work, but from mental training to wardrobe to platform development, what has that all looked like for you?
Platform development has been huge. When I competed in my first pageant, I knew what I was passionate about, but I still didn't really know how to articulate it. So, Lead Fearlessly, both the platform, the speaking engagements, and the podcast have actually only come about since my preparation for National United States. I've been working with Win a Pageant. Alicia and Trinity are amazing, and they have really pushed me to think big and think outside of my comfort zone. So for the first probably 6 months of my reign, I was just focused on how I could build this super strong platform that could really live on and impact people no matter what happens at nationals. And now I get to pivot a little bit into wardrobe,
Yeah.
into walking patterns, into some of the on stage preparation. I'm so excited. I get to go pick up my gown from Alterations tomorrow, and really get to see it on for the first time, which I think is always the best feeling. I'm a big thrift shopper. So I've been looking for what I can find on Poshmark. I've been
Mhm.
looking on TJ Maxx, just trying to be able to do the beauty queen on a budget. And I think I've been really successful this year.
Yes, we kind of look up in the pageant industry because there's so many Facebook
Mm.
groups and people trying to sell their wardrobe from last year's nationals.
Oh my
So,
gosh,
um,
Facebook Marketplace. All of my
exactly.
appearance wears come from Facebook Marketplace.
Now, what's one lesson you've learned from previous pageant experiences that you're carrying with you to nationals?
For me, it's show up as you are. Um, Last year was my very first national pageant ever, and I will tell you that is so intimidating. I was competing with these women who had done this for 5, 6, 7 years, who started competing in pageantry when they were in high school, and I felt a little bit out of my element, and I relied a lot on my directors, on my coaches, on my fellow contestants to tell me, what should I wear? What should I do? How should I stand? How should I? And I looked wonderful. My hair and makeup was beautiful. My dress was beautiful, but it didn't really reflect me and my
Mhm.
style. And once I looked back on that, my immediate thought was, okay, I want to do it again, but I want to show up and really feel like myself. If you've seen my podcast at all, our colors are pink. I'm wearing pink. I'm a big pink girl. And I wore no pink at
Oh,
nationals
wow.
last year. None at all. I know my like friends who know me were like, "Why isn't your gown pink? Like, I've never seen you wear this much like neutral colors. I'm shocked." So this year I'm very excited to say my gown is pink. And I'm excited to just really go out there and feel like my best self.
And I think that's something that you have to kind of come to learn in pageants
Mhm.
is everybody says be yourself, be yourself. Well, what does that look like
Yeah,
for you? And for you, that means really being yourself with your wardrobe. So we're really excited to see that. I love pink as well.
I can't wait. I'm so excited to see it on the stage, and my hanging in my closet's not doing it justice right now.
Now, you touched on it a little bit. Lead Fearlessly is such a powerful name. What inspired you to create this platform?
I started doing nonprofit work with rising women leaders, specifically in the legal space, about 10 years ago. And traveling to law schools all over the country to help do programming for leadership development. The thing is, leadership development is not taught in school, whether it's college, whether it's law school, whether it's business school. They focus on those kind of hard skills that you need to know, which are great and very necessary. But especially for women, we need to talk about advocating for yourself. We need to talk about how you find your authentic voice, how you use your voice, how you communicate effectively. All of those things are kind of glossed over in the school space. So I started working with women law students to help them figure out how they could step into their leadership. What were the next steps? Where were their opportunities for growth? And give them some resources to do that really effectively. And after I'd done that for a few years, I thought, why not do this for every industry? It's not just women lawyers who need to hear these messages and need to have these resources. So that was really where the idea behind Lead Fearlessly came from, was how can we bring this to women all over the country, all over the world now, that need to hear this message and need some support.
I love that. Such a great platform and very needed. I mean, you talked about being the only woman in the room, and you turned that challenging experience into something powerful. How does that perspective come through in the messages you share on your podcast?
One of the things that I love about the podcast is that it features women leaders from different industries at different stages of their career all over the world. And what I found that's really inspiring is this message of you're not alone. You are, someone is there with you. Someone has been through it. And even if someone hasn't been through that exact same thing, we're rooting for you. And I think that was what I needed when I was at that firm and I was doubting myself and I was wondering if I made the right choice. I was wondering if I picked the right state to live in. All of these questions that pop up, I really needed someone to just reassure me and say, it's fine. I've been through that. I've been there. I've come out the other side, because we see these leaders when they're kind of at the top of their game. When you're a CEO or you're a CFO, you're a VP, you're doing all these things, you have these massive teams. We're like, oh, they make it look so easy. I'm never going to get there. And the truth is, they didn't just get there like instantly. You know, some of them have shared on the podcast that they got laid off, that they got fired, that they totally screwed up in their first business, totally, failed, crashed and burned, but they learned from it. And they kept going and they kept growing. And now they're in this place where you look at them and you're like, oh, they make it look so easy. But it's just so important for everyone to hear, like, that's not how we start out.
Yeah. I love that, especially because you're right. You see people in these major CEO roles and these big roles, but you never see what the come up looked like, how they got to this place. Maybe they were working at McDonald's at one point. Like, you just never know where they came from. So I love that you touch on that in your podcast.
Thank you.
Now, for other queens hoping to launch a platform, a podcast, or an advocacy project, what's your best advice to help them just get started?
Get a support system. I had never even thought about starting a podcast until about November of last year, when it was suggested to me by one of my coaches. And I was like, sure, but I don't know what I'm doing. And when you surround yourself with the right people, whether they have the experience and they can give you guidance, or they're just there to be like, I don't know what we're doing either, but I'm going to be really excited with you while we figure it out, you need that. I would not have been able to get everything up and running as fast as I did without having these really amazing people who are willing to share their expertise. I think from inception to our very first season launching was a little under 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So when you get the right people in your corner, you can really accomplish so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you've been able to do that. And a support system is so important in anything in life, especially in pageants and in platforms for sure. So, congratulations on launching Fearless by Katie Winchenbach at Miami Swim Week. That's an awesome accomplishment.
Oh my gosh, what a bucket list item. For real.
What was that moment like for you?
It was so cool because I'm sure you can tell from our conversation. For me, clothes are an extension of who you are. I love feeling like my best self, starting from like looking in the mirror and feeling great. I think it's really important for your confidence. And I talk so much about confidence when we're talking about leadership development. And it seemed to me like launching a clothing line that's really made for women who want to be bold and authentic and just feel like $1 million when you walk out the door. It was such a natural fit. And I got to watch all of these women of different ages, different sizes go down the runway and just exude this confidence and this attitude, and it made my heart so full to see that come to fruition.
Yes, and let's talk about what inspired you to start a fashion line, and did you expect it to make it to Miami Swim Week?
I thought it would be really amazing. I went to school undergrad actually for fashion journalism, so fashion's always been something that I really enjoyed. I used to go to New York Fashion Week as an observer, as a writer. I never thought I'd kind of be on the other side of it, but the opportunity was presented to me by my agency, Clark Talent Management. They're women owned, and they love supporting any woman who's really doing some cool things. And she reached out to me and said, we would really love to have you do a fearless clothing line. We love everything that you're doing. We want to amplify that. And I said, yes, let's figure it out. Let's see what we're going to do. And we were able to bring it to Miami Swim Week, which totally blew my mind. I found out about a month before the show. So I just had this whole month of running around chaos, but just so worth it.
Yes, and it sounds like it went very well and was really a full circle moment for you. So, you describe your line as more than just clothing, it's a message. What message do you want women to feel when they wear your pieces?
I want women to feel like $1 million. I want them to just step into the pieces and feel like they can take on the world. Because I think I've mentioned this earlier, we're capable of so much. We are limiting ourselves so often. And I think when you put on a piece of clothing and you look in the mirror and you're like, man, I look good. Like that does something to the way that you show up in the world. And I want to be able to help every woman show up feeling like her best self, whatever that looks like to her.
And sometimes showing up for yourself means turning your passion into something like a clothing line. What kind of advice would you have for a woman who is also interested in fashion, or maybe she's interested in being a makeup artist or something like that? How did you turn this passion into something that is now tangible for you? What kind of advice do you have for
You
that?
have to be willing to put in the work. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes doing the things that are not super fun. Being at the fashion shows, putting the clothes on the models, watching them walk is thrilling. But you also need to be doing your spreadsheets and paying your bills and making sure things make sense and tracking orders and all those logistics. And I think a lot of times people go in thinking it will be the most glamorous and the most fun, and it really can be, but you also have to really be willing to like put in the work to get it there. And once you do, it is so incredibly rewarding. And I think the second thing I would say for anybody, and this is if you're interested in starting anything, please ask for help.
Mhm.
Nobody expects you to know everything. You will never know everything. And there's absolutely no shame in reaching out to someone and saying, hey, I see you've done this thing that I want to do. How can I do it? Do you have advice? People love to share things like that. I have asked so many women I know who have clothing lines, who had worked with this agency, who had modeled, like, can I pick your brain? Can we have coffee? And people are so receptive to that. And you learn so much just by admitting what you don't know.
Yes, and I think sometimes people are scared to ask,
Mhm.
but you never know if you don't ask, and
True.
you don't know what kind of knowledge could come
Mhm.
from that. So it's great
You don't
advice.
know what you don't know.
Exactly. And we talked about so many different facets to who you are. You love fashion, your platform Lead Fearlessly, the podcast, and you're an attorney. So you are so active in your community.
Yes. Yes.
It's clear you don't just wear the crown, you use it. So, how do you find new ways to get involved?
I love just getting out there and talking to people. Anytime I can go to any sort of community event, I just wander around and introduce myself. People are so excited to talk. A lot of people see the crowd, they see the sash, they want to know what's going on. And I've been able to have so many great opportunities just by introducing myself to people and letting them know what I'm interested in. I actually did a newspaper interview a couple of years ago, just kind of randomly with someone I had met at a local event. And she's like, could I interview? And I said, sure, I would love that. And I mentioned how excited I am about empowering women. And someone from a local organization that does youth cheerleading, focusing on really building up young girls' confidence, reached out and said, we've been looking for a legal counsel for months. That's like the only thing we need to get this organization going. Would you help us? And I was like, yes, I would love to. And I've been working with them for the last couple of years. And just opportunities like that, I never would have found that on my own. It just took me being willing to put myself out there, and people will come to you. You'll really attract kind of the same energy that you put out there.
And if you had said yes to that interview, who knows if you had found
Right?
this organization?
Mhm.
So that's a great example right there. What advice do you
Sure.
have for pageant queens who want to give back or get involved, but they don't know where to start?
Nothing is too small. Don't feel like you have to launch an international podcast or come up with this huge platform overnight. Mine took 2 years to develop, and shifted and pivoted, and I'm sure it's going to change even more in the next few years. So don't be afraid to just start small and start in your community with something that you're interested in. So many organizations are looking for help. Just pick up the phone and give them a call and ask if you can volunteer, ask if there's anything they need donations for. Everything counts. And once you start doing that, the doors really will open for you.
Now, Katie, with so much on your plate, how do you protect your time and your energy?
That is probably the biggest question that I'm always actually asking myself. And the focus for me is this exciting? I can't do everything. I can't be everything for everyone. And for me, some of the prioritization goes with, is this something I'm really excited about? And is it something that aligns with my values? For me, I'm the happiest when I'm doing things that I am really passionate about, even if it's the not so fun admin side or, some of that work that's not as enjoyable. It's all leading towards this end goal of things that I really feel strongly about. And I think when you start to get a little busier, it's really important to just take a minute and reflect every once in a while. And are you doing things that are in alignment with your values? What are your values? I feel like values nowadays is kind of a buzzword. People talk about finding your values, but it is really important to figure out what your priorities are and what's important to you. I know for me that my family is a top priority. We don't have kids, which does enable me to have a little bit more free time, but I still will turn down opportunities if I feel like I'm traveling a lot and I haven't had time to spend with my husband or with my parents or with my in laws. And that's a priority. I make sure to be there for certain family functions every year. And when I have to turn down an opportunity, yeah, sure, it's disappointing, but I know that it's in alignment with the values that I have. And that really helps to guide the things that I say yes to.
I love that because as pageant women, sometimes we can feel as though when an opportunity comes our way, we have to say yes to every
Mhm.
single thing, and then we feel we're overbooked and we're our cup is overflowing,
Mhm.
and we don't have time for what's important to us. So saying yes to what is really important to you and what aligns with your personal goals is great advice to keep yourself well-rounded and protect your energy for sure. So, what does self care look like for you on a personal level? Not the glamorous version, but the real stuff.
Okay, this is so boring, but my biggest self care hack is sleep. I know it's like not exciting, it's not glamorous, it's not even anything like revolutionary, but I need my 8 hours. Like my husband teases me about it. He's like, you sleep more than any other like proactive person I know. Like you're just everybody's like, you must not sleep. And he's like, no, she sleeps. Trust me, she gets her 8 to 10 hours a night. But for me, that's what I need to feel like I'm energized throughout the day. And once I lose the sleep, I lose the energy, I start to get sick, and it's kind of like the domino effect. So for me, it's really preserving that quality sleep time at night and like quality sleep too, not like I fell asleep on the couch with the TV on. That does not
Mm,
count. Like you got to be in bed, lights out, sleep mask on, like noise machine, fan, whatever you need to like really knock out. And then the other thing for me is reading.
okay.
I feel like I relax so much when I'm reading. I'm on a murder mystery kick right now. You could give me a James Patterson and I would sit down and kill a whole afternoon. But it's nice to have something that kind of lets your brain turn off, lets you disappear into a whole other world, and come back and feel a little bit refreshed. Because I think for a lot of women, you want to go, 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 and do, 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 especially when you're busy. And taking those times, like I said, the sleep, the reading, just the decompression
Yeah.
really for me helps me stay super sharp so that when I'm on, I'm really productive and I'm getting a lot of things done and I'm maxing out my time and not feeling like I'm spinning my wheels and I'm having this like brain fog.
Well, you're getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep that you have it figured out, okay?
That is
And
the trick. It sounds so counterintuitive. People are like, what do you do to get more hours in the day? I'm like, sleep. Seriously. Like, it's underrated. I mean it.
And you said it's not glamorous, but the sleep can lead to glamour if that makes sense. Because I've heard hair and makeup artists say when it comes to drinking water and getting sleep and all of that, it plays a role in if you're at a pageant and you go to get your hair and makeup done, whether or not your hair is moisturized and your skin looks well, how well is your makeup going to turn out? Well, that depends on if you're getting sleep and if you're drinking your water. So I think
I,
that is
I will
glamorous.
say, drinking water is on my list for this year. I am failing miserably. I'm like a 2 iced coffees a day, and I'm like, there was ice in it. Does that count as water? And my husband's like, no. Oh my gosh. So I need to work on the water, but I've nailed the sleep. So I'm like 50% of the
Okay,
way
but
there.
I say you're like doing better than like half of the country, so that's fine.
Great, great. Feel good.
Yes. And what habits or mindset shifts have helped you show up confidently and avoid burnout?
I think it really is finding the confidence in yourself. For a long time, I was looking for that like external validation. Like,
Hmm.
hey, husband, I need a compliment. And like
Yeah.
compliments are nice. Everybody loves them. And like, give your friends compliments, please. It makes their day. But I was really like relying so much on that, on other people's approval. And when I felt like I wasn't getting it, I would get this self doubt and I would be so nervous. And I s it was really affecting the way that I did show up. And it was also affecting my ability to set boundaries. We just talked about sleep and make sure you're saying yes to the right things.
Yes.
But when you're not feeling confident in yourself and you're aiming to get that validation from elsewhere, you feel like you have to say yes to everything. Because
Mhm.
what if you upset someone? What if they don't want to be your friend anymore? What if they're frustrated with you? Like, it just is like a snowball effect. So I think it's really important to just do that inner work. Like, it's work, it's uncomfortable. You don't want to look inward and kind of figure out what you have going on up here. But it's really important for you to know, like, this is the value that I bring. This is, these are my values. This is how I'm an asset. These are my areas for growth. Like, also identifying that too and like bringing that forward, it helps you feel more confident in the decisions that you're making, in the way that you're showing up. And then you can evaluate things as they come and say, I don't really feel like this opportunity is right for me,
Mhm.
and say that. And if the person is frustrated or disappointed, you've said it kindly, and that's just how it is. But you will get so burnt out if you're just saying yes to everything and you're seeking that external validation.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, especially because that's kind of how we're trained to
Mhm.
be as women
Yep.
is to be people pleasers.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Now, here's the hot button question that everybody gets
Ooh,
asked in their
okay.
pageant interview. What kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind as National United States Maine Mrs. 2025?
I hope to leave a legacy of empowerment. I want every woman that I'm able to interact with to walk away and feel confident and feel inspired to step into her leadership. And I say that because for me, leadership isn't just how you show up at work. That's how we think about it a lot. And in a lot of workshops and things that I do, we focus on that. But every single woman, no matter how old, how young, if you are a working mom, if you're not a mom, if you're a stay at home mom, if you're a caretaker, it doesn't matter. You are a leader in some way in your life. You are leading your home, you are leading in your community, you are leading in your family, you're leading in your job. Like, and I want every woman to feel the confidence in the decisions that they're making, feel really empowered to advocate for themselves and just be who they are. And that's the legacy that I hope I can leave behind
Well,
for
I
National
think
United
with
States.
your platform and everything that you have going on, you're well on your way to achieving that legacy. And you talked about what you think leadership is, and your platform is Lead Fearlessly. Tell me what you think it means to be fearless.
I think being fearless is making the choices that are right for you, even when they're not the most popular. There's a lot of paths I think as women we feel like we have to follow. And I think it's so important that everyone feels really good about making the decisions that are right for them, even if that goes against the status quo, even if it's, something that shocks or upsets friends, family, like really listening to yourself, believing in yourself, even when other people don't, and just taking that step, whatever it is that you want, going for it.
I love that. And I think I'm going to take that advice too, of being fearless. Now, we love asking all of our queens who we interview this question. Being a pageant resource such as ourselves, what's something you as a title holder would appreciate seeing more of from our platform?
Ooh, I don't think you can ever have enough focus on interview. For me, interview is so important because it's the only way the judges get to see you. And it's not about, you know, I know a lot of people say, interview wins the pageant. That's not why I say that. I just think it's so important for us to be able to communicate effectively what we want to say and what our platform is and what we stand for. And I think interview is one of the biggest skills that translates outside of pageantry.
I agree. And that's why we give you all the platform and the opportunity to come on here and kind of practice interview. Of course, your interview is not going to be
Amazing.
40 minutes long,
I
but
wish. Oh my gosh.
right, because then you could really let the judges see who you are instead of it
Yeah.
being like 2 or 3
So
minutes.
short. So
Yes,
short.
but thank you for that feedback. We always love hearing that from our queens. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice before entering the pageant world, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. It's so funny that you asked me this because that is, aside, without the pageant part, that is the one thing I ask every single one of my podcast guests is advice to your younger self. And I trip so many people up. Um, I think for me, it would be don't put yourself in a box. Don't limit yourself. Like, I 100% was like, all right, girl, you're an attorney. You're going to wear your suits. You're not going to wear a lot of makeup because people are going to think you're unprofessional. Like, all of these things. I made it up in my head. Nobody ever told me that. I just graduated, found my job, found my little box, set myself in there, and was like, I'm good to go. And it wasn't until I started pageantry that I realized that I'd even done that. And I think the other thing that really ties into that, and really part of the reason I really did put myself in the box, was don't put so much pressure on yourself. I
Yeah.
was so worried about doing everything perfectly. It had to be done right. And if I was going to do it, I had to be really good at it. And I had to make the right choices because, if you once you get a job, you have to stay there forever. Like silly things like that that I was so worried about. And I put so much pressure on myself. And I look back and I'm like, oh, it didn't even matter. It didn't matter at all.
Mhm.
And I've pivoted this way, I've pivoted that way in ways I never thought. And it was just the journey. So I think I wish I would have enjoyed it a little more, and not been so worried about if I was doing the right thing, fitting in the right box, and just kind of relaxed and was along for the ride.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to that. And I love that you ask your podcast guests this too, because it can stump people, but it's something that we should really be thinking
Hmm.
about as people who have goals and people that are driven, because there's somebody who needs to hear what we needed to hear when we were younger, and they might be
100%.
listening to the podcast. So you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Katie, we're going to play a fun game of this or that. I'm going to give you two options. You tell me which one, and we'll just do them kind of quick, okay?
Sounds good.
Sneakers or stilettos?
Sneakers.
Crown or sash?
Crown.
On stage question or interview?
Interview, but that one's hard.
A dress with or without a slit?
With
Dress or jumpsuit?
jumpsuit.
Stay up late or wake up
Stay
early?
up late, 100%.
Underdressed or overdressed?
Overdressed always.
Netflix or Hulu?
Hulu.
Gold or silver accessories?
Silver.
Planning ahead or going with the flow?
Oh, planning ahead. Very type A.
Public speaking or performing talent?
Public speaking.
City or countryside?
City.
On time or fashionably late?
On time.
Introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
Grace and poise or confidence and charisma?
Ooh, confidence and charisma.
Red or nude lipstick?
New.
We already did Sasha Crown. Personal stylist or dress yourself?
Ooh, dress yourself. So much more fun.
Yeah. And outdoor adventure or indoor experience?
Indoor experience. I don't get along with nature very well. You can ask my husband.
I agree with that. That's why I think all pageants should be indoors. There are some outdoors, but
They should. Oh, my poor husband. We went hiking in the jungle when we were in Panama. I forgot my shoes. I was in flip flops. I got into poison ivy. We got back. He's like, I can't take you outside. And I was like, no, honestly, like, just bring me back to the hotel bar.
it's exactly none of this would happen. Exactly.
Right, none of this would have happened. I wouldn't have all the bug bites, poison ivy. Like, just give me a margarita and let me be.
Well, Katie, thank you so much for giving us a chance to gain some insight on who you are today. Do you mind sharing with us how we can stay connected to you on your journey to nationals?
Of course. So I have a couple of Instagrams. My personal one is Hey, it's Katie W, which is what I joined from today. And then I also have one NUS Maine Misses. And you can also check out my website, which is kdwinchenbach.com.
Awesome. Again, Katie, thank you so much for hopping on and
Thank
chatting with
you.
me
This was so
today.
fun.
Yes, had a great time. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and we wish you the best of luck on your journey.
Thank you so much. It was good to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. Bye.
Bye.